Let's see, good doctor. Let's see if YouTube's going to let us live stream. I think they are. Let me look to my left to the screen and I can actually see it and mute it if I need to because sometimes it just blasts, but it's already muted. So good. We're here. Hey, everyone. Welcome. It's Friday. Friday, my favorite time of the week. It is the day that I get to talk crypto with amazing crypto people all across the world. And we have Dr. Cap with us. He is, as my title says, Dr. Cap, advisor for Particl, that's Particl, and BasicSwapDex.com, discusses how to safely trade private crypto without third parties, which is near and dear to my heart and certainly anybody watching this. Dr. Cap, how are you? It's been a long time.
It has, Todd. I'm doing really well. Exhausted. My little kid is growing up, but still very little.
How 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 old? How old now?
About 4 months.
Okay.
Yeah. It's his first kid. The sleepless nights.
Of course.
Everything they tell you is the truth. So it's all
It
good.
is. It is. It is. Now, is your baby a good sleeper or no?
I think he was hyperactive like I was when I was a kid.
Okay.
At least according to my mom. I get that sense. Very inquisitive, very aware, actually very, very reassuring, actually, which is really nice.
That is nice. Now, has he started to code? Like, are you are you worried that he's staying up too late with his computer? And
I think he's picked up the code of getting my attention when he wants it.
okay.
Let's call it that. So yeah, now he's good. Good.
Do you and your wife share feeding opportunities, or does he breastfeed, or
Oh yeah, so we do express bottle feeding, so we kind of try and split the
perfect?
nights.
Perfect.
It's it's
I have four daughters, and I will tell you that I fondly recall those times. Mostly, it's just was amazing that time, in the middle of the night or whatever, and you're just feeding this little miracle, you know.
yeah.
And so I know this is so cliche, and but one day you will give the same advice, but enjoy it while it lasts.
Yes.
I know it can be very difficult at times, but what a miracle. A little bit of you, a little bit of your wife, and I have a sneaky suspicion your little guy is going to grow up to be a really, really smart dude. So,
Fingers crossed, hope so. Thank you.
with that, for those who are watching, and let me just welcome people to the chat. I don't know why, but sometimes I have to place a first comment. Welcome, everyone! Exclamation point. For some reason, that's the how people can start posting then. And I'll give it a thumbs up. If you are watching, please give it a thumbs up. And I would encourage you to uh, not just smash the like button, but to please subscribe and activate the notification bell. And then when I start live streaming, like I did yesterday at 11 a.m., and people were like, "You didn't let anybody know." No, I didn't. Sorry. I just didn't. But if you had the notification bell on, you would know, and you could have joined us, and it was awesome. If you missed it, go back and watch it. I have had a lot of people reach out and we're very encouraged based upon the subject matter, and it's just a little bit different. And I will preface today's show with the fact that because it is my movie, right? This is my channel, is I've taken the regulator off of what I people who I'm going to have on to talk to. And I've made the strategic cognitive decision for me is I meet so many interesting people, especially with my relationship with Mike Adams being his co-host at decentralized.tv. I meet so many different interesting people. There are some that I just want to have some sidebar conversations with, and I made the decision that instead of just having a sidebar conversation between the two of us, if they're open to it, I'd love to do that on air and live stream it so that others can just kind of so basically it's not intended as, don't take this wrong, It's not intended to entertain you on purpose with intent, right? It's intended for us just to have an engaged conversation and you can participate, you know, kind of like a legal voyeur. So with that, but that's the reason why it's important to pound the notification bell, because I never know when it's going to happen. I can assure you there's going to be one that's not scheduled next week already because it's in the works. All right, enough of that. Dr. Cat, for those who may not have seen our initial interview, can you go ahead and give us a little bit of background, your personal background, and also on Particl basic swap DEX? And I am going to tee one thing up, Dr. Cap. I want, in the spirit of full disclosure, I have an admission
Sure.
that I have a motive today. And my motive is this. I have covered Epic Cash for 4 years. Okay. It was a hell of a run. We got up to 685, ended up, retracing like everything else. And then a year ago in mid-May, there was part of the leadership within the project just spiraled. And I tell you what, it really harmed the project. But Epic Cash is still the most amazing, I feel, project that is out there. Now, the fact that it's trading at 25 cents now instead of a buck 25 in mid-May of last year, or 685 at its all-time high, I look to as a gift. You know Epic Cash, you know it's Mimblewimble, the protocol. Initially, I know there were some issues with integrating Mimblewimble into basic swap DEX, but my motive is I would love to be able to figure out how we can integrate Epic Cash into your DEX. And I have put out a message to the Epic Cash community for any tech folks. Please watch this show, because in our conversation, I would love for you to share if there are still any issues. What are they? But I'd like us to get on the same side of the table here
Sure.
to think in cans versus can'ts, because I think
Okay.
it could be a game changer for Epic Cash. And it's just been something I've covered for so long. It's near and dear to my heart. I love the community. So with that, that's my little motive. Let's
Yeah.
work towards that. Okay, cool. All right. Enough about that. Tell us a little bit about you and Particl and basic swap DEX, sir.
Sure. So my background, I'm an emergency medicine consultant professionally. So my background is medical. I'm very experienced at that, essentially top of the line. Uh, 2016, I properly got into crypto speculation with some assets that performed very well.
Mm-hmm.
Around that time, about a year later, or 2017, a project called the Particl project had launched. Now, I was kind of keeping tabs on its precursor project, and I was quite keen on the vision of the Particl project, which was essentially to build an eBay style marketplace platform where anyone could buy and sell goods online without any KYC, without having to
Okay.
give up any
Yep.
personal information, and to do that securely and safely. So it was a privacy focused marketplace platform. And that's a peer-to-peer, that's one that's operating on a peer-to-peer network. So it would essentially be resistant to control from any centralized authority or resistant to any kind of centralized takedown. Now, a good reference point to that would be, you could look at centralized e-commerce providers like Amazon. They have websites that you can hack and take down.
Right.
And Amazon being a centralized provider, they are a point of control for all of the traffic flow on their network. They can charge extortionate commissions, and they can essentially operate in ways which can often be counterproductive to both consumers and to vendors if you have
Like
a fully
how?
decent. So, I think Amazon have vehemently denied it. I'll raise some of the accusations that have been leveled. So, if you own an e-commerce platform and you can see all of the traffic going into and out of it,
Yeah.
and you can do analytics on any vendor, and you happen to have the resources to essentially go, I see this particular business is doing really well. Um, what you can then essentially do is you've got the capital to essentially replicate the exact same business model they're using, sell the exact same goods, because you've got the capital on hand, and because you're the one charging the commissions, you can essentially undercut. So you can have an environment where
you can hijack the order.
you can not hijack their orders, but you can create, you can look at their businesses because they're operating on your platform,
Yeah.
see how they're performing. I'm not saying Amazon does this. I'm not saying any platform does this. I'm saying this is a real risk with centralized platforms, and
I
these
think
are risks
Amazon
that have
does
been raised.
this. May I share a story real quick?
Sure.
Part of my wife's job is she distributes different things, and she has to kind of fund her own gifts, right? And so there are these colorful pens on Amazon that are just great, and they come in about 50 cents a piece, right? And so it's nice to be able to drop some with the products that she delivers. Everybody appreciates them. And so we've ordered a boatload of those over the years, right? Well, all of a sudden, there was the same product, looked exactly, but instead of 30 pins at 50 cents, it was 36 pins at 50 cents each, right? So me being a smart dude, right, I'm like, oh, cool. Hey, man, I'm happy. I'm happy to save that $3 on the order. Why not? That adds up over the year. And so I ordered it, and we got them in. And man, talk about a knockoff. It was just a literal knockoff of the other pens. Horrible quality, and so I immediately thought of our initial interview when you shared this before. I'm like, wow, I think it just happened. I think they noted that I order a lot of pens, and they gave me a little hook with some savings bait on it, and I bit, and they pulled up, and you know what? I mean, just because of the nature of the business, I still save the $3. The people we deliver them to, they don't discern the quality difference like I do. But I think it does happen, Dr. Cap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the point I'm essentially making is if you have a centralized provider that
Yeah,
operates as a monopoly, you are, by using their service, you are trusting them to not use their power as a monopoly to essentially crush or control small businesses, and to essentially
absolutely.
crush competition. And that's
Yes,
the problem. Once you have a monopoly, the first instinct of any organism is self-preservation. And that
sure.
extends not on an individual level, that extends to societal structures, governance structures, and organizational structures, including corporate structures. So self-preservation is the first instinct. So when you have a
That's right.
monopoly, its main aim is to entrench its power further and to grow its power further. And it has a system of incentives to do that. It has private shareholders that are basically going, where are the profit margins? Are they going up? Because if they're going up, that means our share prices are going up, which means you can pay us more dividends, or we make more money, at least unrealized gains, until we sell those shares when they're realized. So
Right.
there are incentives in place for monopolies to be established and for them to then control and dominate the entire market and to essentially crush diversity and to crush small businesses, which is essentially crushing opportunity.
Yeah, of
That
course.
is the opportunity for people to grow. You talk about the American dream. For
Yeah.
me, I believe the dream is about the ability to achieve social mobility and social progress, to do better in your life through your own
Yeah.
hard work. But if you
Mm-hmm.
have a system that is fundamentally set up where the game is rigged against you, where the entire structure is rigged against you, then I see a problem there, because essentially that crushes the spirit over time. And then once you crush the spirit, you crush the society. And once you crush the
Right.
society, the whole thing becomes valueless. Everyone gives
Absolutely.
up, the morale it dies. And then we go from having a high functioning society where people do believe in, who trust each other and believe in the system, to a low functioning society where nothing can get done.
Yeah.
And I think commerce is a huge part of that. And e-commerce is a massive is the big part of that. When we transition from before e-commerce to after e-commerce, there was a time when when you had cash, and cash
Mm-hmm.
offered privacy. It offered your ability to obfuscate who was watching you do what. Okay.
Right.
Now, the nice thing about that is, okay, uh, let's look at an enterprise example. If you are a big business and you run multiple supply chains, some of which are sensitive, perhaps for research and development purposes. Perhaps you did have highly proprietary technology
Hmm.
and you operate multiple supply chains, and some of them are highly sensitive. If you don't have privacy in your supply chains, if they're operating in a way in which some third party can see who you're trading with, they can essentially hijack your supply chains, figure out how you're manufacturing, what it is you're building, and then
Mm.
potentially undercut you. Or they could exert pressure on those supply chains, those
Sure.
providers, which then affects your business. So privacy is fundamental to good business networks. It's
Yes.
fundamental to good commerce. It's fundamental to small businesses operating in a fair and competitive environment.
Yep.
So, with the Particle project, that was about building a KYC. When we say KYC free, it's not asking for your personal information in order to buy and sell. And the other thing is there is no centralized owner. It's a distributed, it's a marketplace it's a marketplace that operates on a peer-to-peer network. So it's not like there is some Jeff Bezos sitting there at the core of it going, how can I analyze all this traffic? Because actually, all of the traffic on this network, it is encrypted. There is end-to-end encryption on all of the traffic that flows through this network. So an outside observer isn't going to be able to see what the individual users of that network are doing in terms of how they're transacting, who they're transacting with, who they're buying and selling goods and services from. This is a highly privacy focused network and is a privacy focused marketplace. Now,
So, so we're
yeah.
here just to let you know. I
Oh
pulled
no, no,
it
that's
up.
particle. No, go to particle.io. So the funniest thing
Oh,
is, we literally got psyoped. There was a startup that does the exact opposite of what we do. So particle.com,
wow.
funnily enough, does AI analytics and promises to track everything you do. Whereas particle.io, which is actually our project, which has been
Oh,
around since
wow.
2017. So particle.com arrived in 2023, 2022, I think. So as far as I'm concerned, I don't know what they do. I don't know why they chose that name, but they have
Wow.
chosen that name, taken that domain, and put a site out that does the exact opposite. So as far as I'm concerned, someone's looked at what we're doing. This is my cynical take. Someone's looked at what we're doing
Yeah.
and gone, fuck it, we're afraid of this. Let's
Yeah.
make sure we divert as much attention away from it as possible. So
Oh,
these are
that's
the problems
amazing.
we have. Yeah. So
Okay. All right. Well, I am so glad that I screwed up and pulled the wrong one up
no,
because I probably in the show notes would have put particle.com and that would have really been a
it would have
mistake.
it would have sent you to a startup that literally does nothing but perform analytics on e-commerce and tracks. So it is the total opposite, and I find that hilarious. But that is the state of play, and I personally cannot help but think that's more than just a coincidence. Because
Wow.
I think if you're going to do a startup, the first thing you do is probably do a bit of basic research on domains and brands.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
yeah, so that's
Unbelievable.
where my cynicism comes from.
Okay,
Now,
well, yours is you're an informed cynic, so I would trust your instincts on that. So, okay.
what I will say, where this leads to basicswapdex.com, and that is, the right domain, the right product now. Um, Now, with the Particle Marketplace, we built it, we delivered it, it works. It's a desktop application, so you download it for essentially Windows and Mac. And you're essentially, when you install the client, it's a bit like downloading Spotify. You set up your private wallet. So it's just like if you're creating a crypto wallet seed, 12, 24 words, that's essentially address. And then that wallet and that client, it connects to the Particle network, which is a distributed network of nodes that run the Particle marketplace. And then you can start seeing listings for various marketplaces that operate on that platform. Now, the default currency of settlement for this marketplace is the part token. It's a
Okay.
particle. You use the part currency. And the reason we use that is because it's a cryptocurrency, and it's a privacy coin. So, yeah. So their coin market cap, it's dirt cheap right now. It's low liquidity.
Yep.
We can get into reasons as to why, but I'll cover that later.
Okay.
So the part coin is the default currency of this marketplace. And so
of the particle.
of the
Yeah.
particle marketplace. So whenever you actually wind up buying and selling goods, you're using the part coin.
Okay.
Now, there's a couple of reasons for this. Now, the particle cryptocurrency utilizes confidential transactions and ring CT as well. So it utilizes multi-state privacy.
Hmm.
And the result of that, the consequence is that any of the transactions that occur on the network, the buyer, the seller, the origin of the buyer, the origin address of the seller, and the amount are obfuscated from third-party view. So a third party cannot see the amounts being transacted. They can't see the source of funds. They can't see the destination of funds. So
Okay.
that's the first reason. The second reason why we've had that is because in order to do buying and selling of goods online without having any trusted third parties, where we utilize an escrow, and that escrow, there's no commissions on this platform, by the way. So
Okay.
it's not like Amazon, which can go up to 40%, eBay, which can be 15%, zero commissions. And we utilize an escrow that's just two parties. So it's just the buyer and the seller. So it'd be like when it comes to escrow, Todd, it would just be you and me. There'd be no other person involved. And the way it would work is if you were trying to sell me a coffee cup for, say, $2, then you as the seller would put $2 into the escrow, or $2 worth of part tokens. I, as the
Okay.
buyer, would put $4 worth of part tokens into the escrow. That's a smart contract escrow, so it's automated. So as soon as we put our deposits in, and once you send me the coffee cup, I can say, yay, I received it. Please let's release the escrow. You get your $2 deposit plus the $2 that I paid, and I get a $2 deposit back. Does that make sense? Or shall I run through it
Okay.
again?
Run through it one more time.
Of
So who
course.
is putting up the 4 and who is putting up the 2?
So the coffee cup that you're selling it, and the coffee cup is worth $2
Yes.
into the escrow. You as the seller will put $2, which is the value of the coffee cup.
Okay.
Me as the buyer, I will put $4 into the escrow, okay, which is twice the value of the coffee cup. You
Yes.
will send me the coffee cup, I receive it, and then we release the escrow. You get $4, I get $2. Sounds puzzling.
It seems like it should go the other way to me,
Okay, so let me try again to explain this.
because
So
the risk is I'm sending you something and I have my expenses as the seller. I already have expense into it. So
so
if I'm
what
sent,
happened?
uh-huh.
So let me explain. If the escrow fails, I lose everything as the buyer. So I will have lost $4 to make a $2 purchase, and you will have lost, if you are trying to scam me,
Oh, I
you're
get it.
yeah.
I get it.
So I would
So
be paying $4 for a $2 coffee cup if I try to scam you. If you try to scam me, you lose $2, which is the amount
okay.
you've yeah. Does that
Okay.
make a bit?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, thank you for the
So in
clarification.
this way, if either party tries to screw the other over, both parties are fucked.
Okay.
That's the simple reality
Yeah.
of it. Now you can adjust that escrow ratio up from 0 to 100% or even more of the value of the item. So you can adjust the rate of escrow.
Who
So
can
say if you're
adjust? The seller? Okay.
the seller can adjust the rate of escrow. So the seller
Got it.
can adjust the rate and go, look, well, if you just want to put 50% of the value of the item, well, the seller can specify that when they, create the item for sale. So this is essentially how you and me can commit to selling a coffee cup between us without
Mm-hmm.
you needing to know. You don't then, in that scenario, I don't need to know your name. You don't need to know my name. I don't need to know your date of birth. You don't need to know my date of birth. I don't need to know any of your personal addresses. You don't need to know you just need to know my shipping address. That's it. The shipping address that I specify. That's it.
Okay, no name, just the shipping address.
That's it.
Okay.
That's literally it. You can make up a random name and then specify the shipping address, and that's it.
Got
So
it. But
in that scenario,
you do have to provide the shipping address to the seller. It doesn't come. Well, yeah, no, that goes in the no shit category.
yeah, if
I
you're going to
was
provide
thinking,
physical goods, you
yeah,
provide a
yeah,
shipping address of your choice. But
yeah.
depending on the
I was
level of
trying to
privacy,
I was trying to overcomplicate it and say, couldn't you put that in the smart contract too, so that it's secret? And then I'm like, no, you got to ship the product. Okay.
I mean, ultimately, if you've got a PO box that you want something sent to, or a
Right.
private address or something, that's your call. If you want it sent over to a friend's, that's
Yeah.
fine. They can go pick it up from theirs. So what this is it's designed to create multiple layers of privacy. The messages on the network, they are end-to-end encrypted, so outside observers can't see them. The
Right.
transaction flows are essentially through Ring CT, they are obfuscated. So
Okay.
outsiders cannot see the buyers, the sellers, the buyers of goods. They can't see the sellers of goods. They can't see the amounts being transacted. Third parties can't do that. So a third party cannot perform analytics on the buying and selling
Right.
habits.
Right.
Only the vendor knows what they're selling, how much they're selling, and to who.
How do I know what is out there to be sold? Just as a consumer.
As a buyer, you would download this client. Like I said, it's like downloading Spotify. You create your wallet and you connect to the network, and it will just
Okay.
load up listings. So there's a default marketplace that it loads, but there are other marketplaces that you can like load up. And the other thing is, if you want to create a private marketplace, you can do that as well. So if you wanted to create your own marketplace, it would have its own unique address. The only people who would know about that marketplace on the network would be the people who have the address for it. So this is where I
Okay.
say it's a marketplace platform. So there's a default marketplace, which everyone will see if they install this and start using it. But you can create other marketplaces on
Okay,
it as well.
can I just ask the obvious question, the elephant in
Sure.
the room?
Yeah.
Um, and I'm not saying that this is a negative
No.
necessarily, right? But let's say that there is somebody who wants to be able to grow weed and sell it, right? And they grow it, they have their own little network, but they want it to be sold, or they want to have their own little marketplace here. So what they would have to do is create their marketplace, and then they would have to let people know, let's say that they're on Telegram or whatever, and they're like, hey, here's the address of where you go to be able to
Yeah.
privately place an order. Would
Yeah.
that, I mean, but then again, if you're posting, well, you'd post it on Signal or something like that,
You'd
something that's
post that on
encrypted.
Signal, then whoever sees that address can then see that marketplace. And then the
Right.
activity that occurs on there, that is essentially
And
on
and
there.
and so if you're the seller, then you are nobody is going to be able to crack that and decrypt it and see what's going on in there, right?
In the sense that the only people who have that view key for the marketplace can see what's on that
Okay.
marketplace.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if you gave me the view key, I could enter it and then I can see the listings for that marketplace. Unless I share that view key with, someone else, that's just between you
I
and me.
see.
So
Okay.
actually, yeah.
No, I think this is great, and I didn't mean to go down that path,
Oh, no.
but I think it's kind of like at one point in time, how did Monero get its market cap? It was because it was pretty good for one thing, buying stuff
I
that
mean, the way I look at this is if you look at a feature like that, it goes back to what I was saying about supply chains. So,
yeah,
if you look at this, I appreciate, this is probably something further down the line when there's greater adoption for a network like this. But if you're
yeah.
running a serious business and you have multiple supply chains, you can essentially establish one-to-one relationships with each of your vendors, as it were,
Yes.
and essentially have a very, when you're trying to build supply chains business to business, this is an excellent sort of tool to potentially use because it
How's it
means you're
how's it
competitive.
how is it going? I mean, give us a little bit of history of when it launched and the adoption and um
Yes, so I think basically the project started in 2017.
okay.
We got the first proper alpha around 2019. We're currently on version 3.3, which I would say is a robust beta. In terms of adoption, this is where I'll get to basic swap decks. One of the issues that we had in terms of gaining adoption is that, like I said, it uses a specific coin, the part token.
That's right. Hmm.
Now, that creates, whenever you have a default currency, particularly one that's not well known or established,
Right.
that creates a default barrier to entry. So there are already lots of potential barriers to entry. If you kind of think about this, you need to kind of be comfortable with the idea of what a cryptocurrency is. You need to have some sort of understanding of the value of privacy. You need to be comfortable installing a new piece of software. And then
Yes.
you need to be comfortable with the idea of it connecting to a network and creating your own crypto wallet. And then on top of that, you then have to go through the steps of acquiring the native currency for that network in order to buy and sell goods. And that's a major friction point. Now, there are several issues with that step, with particularly with the currency aspect. The first is that currency, that token needs to be, just needs to be easy to get hold of that token. For a very, very long time in our project's history, we were only listed on Bittrex, which is Bittrex.com, which is a centralized exchange. So
Yeah.
there is your first problem. If you're going to try and buy and sell goods anonymously, but you still need to use a centralized exchange that's KYC dependent to
Yes.
get the token, the currency token, then you're already creating a potential hole in your operational security, in your privacy.
Right.
Does that make sense? Because you are giving your details and you are essentially letting someone know that you are buying a privacy coin. The second thing is Bittrex was a big exchange in 2017. And unfortunately, due to various factors, its dominance as an exchange went into a period of long decline. Pretty much Binance, when it came over, it really ate up all of Bittrex's market dominance.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, the part token never got listed on Binance or any of the other major exchanges. And then that in turn reduced the accessibility of that token. There were also restrictions to US buyers on the purchasing of the part token, and those were imposed by Bittrex as an exchange because Bittrex was located in Seattle. That's where they were headquartered at the time. So even though I would question whether that was legally required, but there were restrictions. It was difficult to get hold of the token. As such, when it's difficult to get hold of a token, it's difficult to build up liquidity in that token. And
Yes.
liquidity, literally in the simplest words, means flow. The flow of goods, the flow of ideas, the flow of information. When you restrict the ability of a token to have liquidity to flow, i.e., an example, a token with excellent liquidity is Bitcoin. It is on multiple exchanges. Many of these exchanges have direct fiat gateways, so it's very easy to put, dollars or pounds or whatever, and then get some Bitcoin. And you can do that on multiple websites, multiple services, multiple providers around the world. And then there are so many exchanges that are willing to trade that. So it's very easy to move that Bitcoin around from A to B to C to D to wherever.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is so many people are trading. It's so distributed and so many people are trading it that it has value because so many people are using it. It has social value. So a currency, I always say, it's a unit of social accrual. So it's a social, currencies are a social phenomena. You have to put your faith and trust into a currency in order for that to be recognized as a currency. And then enough people have to be able to do that in order for that currency to have the value to flow as a meaningful unit of assigned value. So Bitcoin achieved that cultural relevance, and it has sufficient liquidity in the sense that it has very, very high daily trading volumes. So whenever you assess the liquidity of projects, and I always say this, don't look at market cap. To all you crypto traders out there, particularly anyone who's on this live stream, do not compare coins by market cap. Do not compare assets, stocks, or anything by market cap. Don't compare personal net worths by market cap. Look at the daily trading volume of that asset now, because that tells you the true state of liquidity. I'll give you a really good example. So Bitcoin, the most liquid asset of all crypto is Tether, USDT. And that is simply because its daily trading volume completely eclipses Bitcoin and Ethereum combined. I probably could load up, CoinMarketCap, CoinGecko, any of the index trackers here, and look at the daily volume on USDT and go, it has a higher liquidity than Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's a really hard truth to swallow for a lot of maxis, but
Right.
it is what it is. And that's because there's so much trading of it, and so
Yep.
much trading of it creates that frenzy, that momentum, and that creates the distribution, which creates the social value for it. People accept it.
Right.
So when you don't have a high daily volume, and in comparison, Bitcoin is number 2 in daily volume, and then a really good example, and up until maybe a couple of months ago, if you looked at the actual coin market cap rankings, Bitcoin was number 1. And then if you
Hmm.
look at a good project I'll use is Hex, and there'll be a
Yes.
bunch of Hex maxis. Now,
Yeah.
Hex maintained for a very long time in the last cycle. It was approaching number 4 in coin market cap rankings. But if you
Mm-hmm.
looked at its, even if you look today, I think it's in the 50s, 60s, maybe it's just about to drop off the 100 spot. I don't remember. But
Mm-hmm.
if you look at its daily volume, the daily trading volume that's registered was less than $100,000, even when it was, you know,
Oh,
rank 50.
wow.
Yeah. I don't think it was that low, but it was, we're talking like $1 million max
Okay.
versus like $1 billion for Bitcoin. If you're
Yeah.
looking at daily trading volume, it's that degree. So instantly you can look at Hex and go, there's no liquidity. Therefore, it's actually not as valuable as its coin market cap ranking makes it out to be. The reason it
Right.
ranks so high is because there are so many coins that have been minted, and each of them has a tiny fraction of value. But actually, if you're to try and sell loads and loads of Hex at once, it's price dumped. And actually, that's what happened. It had very little daily trading volume, and someone
Yeah.
sold the majority of the supply. So the price started dumping. So I always go, does this coin have liquidity? Yes or no? And my first test is look at its daily trading volume, look at the
Yeah.
trend in the daily trading volume, look at the rank of daily trading volume.
Right.
And that's
Well,
the key test.
unfortunately, privacy coins most have very low liquidity.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you
I,
agree?
I, the exception being Monero,
Yeah.
the hard exception being Monero, and even Monero is coming under increasing fire. They got
It is.
recently delisted from Binance, so that was a fiat gateway, that was a liquidity gateway being shut off.
Yeah.
And the regulatory framework in the EU and the US is pushing towards and against privacy coins. This also has further knock-on effects in terms of, where does traditional investment money go? Well, if you're a VC firm, you're going to be reluctant to touch privacy projects because you don't know what the regulatory framework for them is. So, in
Hmm.
terms of liquidity, you are starting from a harder place. But the thing is, how do you build liquidity? Well, there's 2 ways to do it. Speculation, just the
Hmm.
first way, which is you go, I bet the value of this token is going to be worth more in the future than it is now. So I'm going to
Hmm.
buy some, I'm going to promote it and hope that people see the value and get the message in what I'm doing. That's speculation. The second way is that you find organic usage for that token, that coin.
That's right.
So I have this token, you can use it to buy actual goods and services. Okay, this is essential to buying goods and services. So
Yes.
one of the reasons I'm highly bullish on part is because its intrinsic utility is tied into the marketplace
Hmm.
itself. It is a
Hmm.
coin, the default currency to buy and sell goods on the world's most private eBay style marketplace platform, which
Yeah.
has no commissions. If you're basically saying zero commissions, no KYC, maximum privacy,
Okay.
you
Let me
know,
ask you a
and
question.
yeah,
Let me ask you a question. That description you just provided, I mean, what is the business model? I appreciate there are no commissions and such, but how in the hell do you fund the project?
I'll get to the funding in a minute, but I'll
Okay.
address your business model question first. The reality is, if lots of people realize that there is a platform where you can buy and sell real world goods and services with
Hmm.
0% commission that doesn't
Right.
have any KYC requirements, where there
Yeah.
isn't a third party that is going to spy on you and then perform third party analytics to see if it can outcompete you. So
Right.
well, all do people need to do is use that. If people are using that and they're
Correct.
using the native coin, that coin is going to circulate, it's going to distribute. And
Yes.
if it's being used, there's going to be demand on that coin. And if the demand on that coin exceeds the supply, the value of that coin will go up.
That's right.
The story of the US dollar just for a reference
Yeah.
point, the US petrodollar, that basically means all petrol has to be settled in US dollars. That was the
Mm-hmm.
agreement they made, with the Middle East back in the
Mm-hmm.
70s. We were going to buy all, you will only sell, we will give you funding and support for your nation. You must in turn make sure that you only sell oil for US dollars. That
Mm-hmm.
created huge demand on the US dollar because everyone on the planet needs oil,
You're
but
right.
everyone needs to then acquire the US dollar in
Yeah.
order to buy oil. Therefore, all of that demand on the US dollar means that the US suddenly has just built itself a money printing machine. It can afford to take out massive loans to help build its own infrastructure, to help it, pursue an expansionist agenda,
Right.
to help it grow as a society. It became a financial superpower. And one of the big steps in that was because all of the world's oil had to be sold in USD, which put
That's right.
perpetual, it meant that you could, US bonds had huge value because there was always going to be demand for oil. Now that
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to get too far down that hole because there are shifts, as it were, but that has been the state of play up to now. That's why the
Yeah.
US has been the focus of the world's economy. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is right now, there is, if you want to buy and sell goods KYC free, that you can't use fiat for that because in the current e-commerce economy, everything is tracked and monitored. And
Right.
as I mentioned to you, centralized providers of e-commerce can essentially exploit and abuse their advantages and their monopolies to essentially outperform you at will or crush you if they want to. And they will eventually do that because,
Mm-hmm.
as I said at the beginning, they are set up to grow and to monopolize and to expand further because they have shareholders to please. This
Right.
system doesn't have shareholders to please. All that needs to happen is the marketplace needs to be used. More and more people need to use it, and then the coin will naturally have increased demand, much like the US dollar with petrol. So the demand for privacy and the demand for privacy without commissions, without having to pay commissions, I think that's a very powerful attractor. Now, that, like I said, the part token was for a long time only available on a single centralized exchange, which was
Right.
Bittrex. It's now MEXC. Now, the reality is there are too many. The reality is most people, from our point of view, we want to be able to support multiple currencies to
Yeah.
buy and sell goods on the particle marketplace. I'll be really upfront with you. And the reason for this is very simple because all of these different coins that you're seeing now, they are different technologies. They use,
Yes.
Monero uses the crypto note protocol, it uses the crypto note code base and it uses ring CT. Firo
Mm-hmm.
uses Lelantus Spark and it has a very interesting approach to privacy, which is
Mm-hmm.
completely different in many ways to how Monero does it. PivX
Right.
uses zero knowledge proofs.
Yep.
You know, Mimblewimble on Litecoin, which should be with us sort of by July.
Good.
Again, a very different approach to privacy.
Yes.
You know, you never know if there's going to be a problem in your privacy protocol. You never know if there's going to be a core problem with your coin. We actually had a significant
Mm.
inflation bug with our coin, which ran from 2019 to 2022, actually, and that actually contributed significantly to our downward spiral in liquidity.
Yeah.
Really struggled because there was perpetual sell pressure, as well
Mm.
as just being on one exchange.
Right.
What we've
Right.
done is we've built this exchange, which is again KYC free. There are no commissions on top, and it's straight swaps of coins. So it's two-party
Well,
owner. There
I
is no
love this.
centralized part.
What else you're bringing to the table is the communities of each one of these,
Yeah,
right? So you're
yeah,
giving them a way to be able to use what they already own to be able to get goods and services, right? So
exactly.
so with that, um, you know, this is where I see right here a nice little place and space for Epic Cash. So what does Epic Cash need to do? Because you have begun integration with a Mimblewimble project, and I know initially that was kind of the challenge. But we're going to have some Epic Cash tech folks watching this. What can we do? What can I do to help facilitate conversations to be able to get Epic Cash placed right there, Doctor?
So I can put you in touch with our devs. That's the
Okay.
first thing. That's the
Okay.
first thing. What I would say to your devs is, if you want to expedite, firstly, it's an open source DEX, so you are more than welcome to have a look at the code.
Hmm.
Um, One thing that would be useful to sort of get your head around as a developer would be scriptless scripts and adapter signatures. So adapter signatures is an implementation of scriptless scripts, and scriptless scripts is essentially the way we make our coin swaps a lot more private than they are on other DEXs. It's also the way in which we enabled Monero atomic swaps, and it's the way in which we enable Mimblewimble atomic swaps. So if you understand scriptless scripts and adapter signatures, incidentally, if you go through our Git, there are a lot of flow diagrams in there that actually explain exactly how the swap process works. So if you're a developer, just have a look through those
Through
and then have a
through
chat to our
GitHub,
devs.
through GitHub.
Yeah, yeah. So if you go to the basic swap Git hub, the link will be in the website. If you just scroll,
Basic swap Git right here.
yeah, that's it. So if you basically have a look,
And
uh,
then where do I
so
click?
there is, I'm now, I think try the doc folder or the bin folder. I had in there, there are a couple of PNG files, which basically try the docs folder. I was literally looking at this last night, which is really funny. Try the protocols that might be in there. You have to, if you have a scroll through this, in there, there are somewhere in here, there are basically a couple of image files that show you the flow. GP, try key, not key, it's probably not keys.
Oh, scripts.
Tests. But essentially, yeah, it's quite embarrassing. Try protocols and yeah, but somewhere in there actually is literally it just shows you the flows. And actually, I might be able to get it if I go to the Particle Academy.
Okay.
But yeah,
Here,
if you have a
look.
look in there, it is in there, and I'll send you the link afterwards.
Okay.
Um, I'll send you
Um,
the link afterwards. Yep.
I just made you co-host if you want to
Oh
go
yeah,
somewhere and
yeah,
drive. That would be fine.
sure. Basics. What? Get.
Because my goal with this live stream is to come out of here to where afterwards you'll provide me with the proper folks to connect our people to. But I'd
Sure.
like to really establish that engagement because that's how it's done. One
Yeah.
conversation at a time, one relationship at a time. And for me, this is just such a no-brainer. And I love what you said that, you know, how do you increase liquidity, speculation, and organic uses, which in my mind, I use the two words use cases. You need to be able to have the use cases. And which are essential to buying goods and services. So you already have everything set up. And I mean, Epic Cash is a perfect complement to your consortium of coins that you have right now. So um, I find it very exciting.
I'm just trying to remember which folder it was in. This is really sorry. So it is basically. I will have to just find it again, and I cannot believe
Okay,
I can't
no,
find
no
it right
worries.
now.
Welcome to
Um,
live TV, everyone.
but yeah, there is basically a couple of flow charts there that just show you exactly how the adaptive signature process works. Now,
Okay, how
uh,
about this? How about this, Doc? How
yeah,
about this? How about we set up a new Telegram group that you could
yeah,
invite your devs to, I'll invite our devs to, and you could find those and put them in there. And
yeah,
maybe
sure.
before any big powwow between the two, maybe they could study what you put in there. How about that?
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Okay,
Um,
cool.
but like I said, if you understand how adaptive signatures work, what you basically need to do for the implementation is use the view key. So basically put, I won't get too technical into this, but with the adaptive signature, you'll basically aspect so that well, the way basic swap dex basically works is it uses it's a peer-to-peer based dex, so it's again it uses the same underlying architecture as the particle
Is that
marketplace,
what
which
this
is
is? I just plugged in
Uh,
adaptive signatures
that
and
will be some of the work that we use to help develop this. Yeah, yeah.
okay.
So that will be part of this.
Okay. So
If you look up more script, if you look up the scriptless script stuff, that's probably the starting point for this.
adaptive
But basic
signature scripts.
adaptor
Oh,
signatures.
adaptor.
Yeah, yeah.
Tor
That's it.
signature. Okay.
Yeah.
Back up. Adaptor signature crypto.
But basically, what this means is that what adapter signatures are is it's an implementation of scriptless scripts, and what it enables you to do is it means that a coin, a cryptocurrency coin that doesn't have a programmable, that doesn't enable programmable outputs, that doesn't have programmable outputs, um, it just enables that to participate in an atomic swap. Now, an atomic swap is essentially it's a straight swap. So you basically kind of the best way to say it is you lock a coin on one chain and it gets kind of linked to a coin on another chain. So they're synced up. And then essentially you have a shared secret that links those two. And that secret is part of a smart contract that essentially executes. And then that allows a transaction on one chain to occur, sending funds to the intended. So it basically means the coins on one chain go to the intended recipient, and the coins on the other chain go to the other person when that contract executes. So essentially, with traditional atomic swaps, you needed to have all of the relevant swap instructions, or a lot of that needed to be linked directly on the chain. What
Mm-hmm.
the utilization of, if you're using sort of adapter signatures, what you can do is you can essentially build what we've done actually is we've
Yeah.
built a token free layer. It's basically a data layer, a mixnet. It's the end-to-end encrypted data layer. It's a messaging layer called the SMSG network. It's the same network that powers the messaging on the Particl network for the commerce, but it can be used essentially for, it is used for our DEX as well. And what is that network is just a messaging network, and it allows execution of smart contracts. It can allow for execution of smart contracts involving cryptocurrencies off the actual chain of that cryptocurrency itself.
Got it.
So it can handle cryptocurrencies of any nature if you program it to. So it
Mm-hmm.
allows, so this data layer, it just allows you to manipulate cryptocurrencies and execute smart contracts involving cryptocurrencies. So what's actually happening on basic swap DEX is, you're downloading and installing a peer client onto your local machine, you're running it, it's connecting to the peer-to-peer network, the same underlying peer-to-peer architecture that the Particl marketplace uses, by the way, which is the SMSG network. And then it's sending messages to and receiving messages from other peers on that network. So, the messages are going back and forth. They're all end-to-end encrypted. So again, that provides additional, it provides additional layers of privacy. But this data layer, it actually executes the smart contracts that power our atomic swaps.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way to do it. And because this data layer exists, it's actually the reason that we can do Monero atomic swaps. It is the reason that we
Wow.
can do Mimblewimble atomic swaps, because those coins natively, if you
Yeah.
were to try it, you couldn't do tradition that they used to be. You couldn't do the old style atomic swaps because you had to be able to put instructions on those coins. But those coins
Yeah.
had no way of storing those particular instructions to actually enable the swap to occur. So what you do instead is you put those instructions on this data framework, which is the SMSG layer,
Yeah.
and then it kind of just executes and tells the chain to transfer coin from this address to this address. So it kind of really enables this
That's
entire process to
astonishing.
occur.
Well, Dr. Cap, humble brag, all it did was took me and my photographic memory seeing this page right here. And now I completely get it. Um, I'm kidding.
All right. I'm not
No,
going to
no,
pretend this is not my area. I'm not speaking as a developer here. I understand
no,
this on a higher level.
but that's why I wanted to be able to at least discuss this because there are, smart folks from Team Epic who are going to be watching and they're going to say, "Oh, yeah, I eat those for breakfast," you know?
Have a chat to our developers. They'll basically tell you how to get on with doing it. If your developers are able to understand how the implementation of Monero works, you will be able to get this
Great,
implemented. It's
great.
doable.
So
So
yes,
once you've
I mean,
it's the same process, but it's just for nimble. It's the same steps essentially.
okay. No, this is very exciting. I am really grateful to have you explain it all and have you on
But
and
yeah. Well, no, I'm really grateful too. But for me, I'm really grateful to be able to give a home to so many coins where they don't need to be
yes.
reliant on centralized exchanges, which can hold your funds, seize your funds, ask you lots of. I was asked so many questions. I do use a centralized exchange for fiat. I was asked some incredibly. I've had various interesting experiences over the years. Like the
Yeah.
sorts of questions that I've been asked have been insanely intrusive. I mean, like,
Yeah.
which schools did you go to? What years were what jobs did they want? One exchange wanted a list of every single employment that I'd had
Yeah.
with references. It's unnecessary. Um, and essentially, this cuts out all that hassle because
I saw, how sometimes being a knuckle dragger like me,
yeah,
sometimes you go down a path, whether it's on Instagram or sometimes TikTok or whatever, and just funny things hit you. And this one guy, he went into several different banks and he withdrew like, $10,000 or whatever. And in all cases, they asked, because I guess they have to now, what are you going to do with that? And it was funny because he had somebody filming him behind him the whole time, and his answers were so funny. He's like, "Oh, do I really need to share?" Yes. Well, my my girlfriend is extorting me, and I've been cheating on my wife forever. And if I don't give her $10,000, she's going to destroy my marriage. And just to see their faces, and he's like, another one, he's like, basically for a Coke deal. And that was it. Just things like this. It was hilarious. But I just kind of love that, to where if when you're asked these of course you can't answer those online like
I,
that,
I
but
mean, let me give you an immediate example. I literally, so my bank, the exchange I used for my fiat gateway, which I've been using for a number of years, I
yeah.
tried to transfer, a direct bank transfer to this exchange as I have done. They blocked it. And then
Wow.
I looked and I realized they'd imposed arbitrary limits on how much I could transfer per day and per month. And then I tried going below it, and then they blocked it again. And I'm like thinking,
Wow.
okay, what's going on? And this is where I was like, you know what? I have a clear history of having made transfers over several years to this place. Nothing has changed. And now you're telling me your fraud prevention team is worried. Do you get what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
we're stopping this because we're worried someone's hacked your account. Like, no, firstly, it's my money. Okay, I'm not doing anything illegal.
Yeah.
I'm not here to be babysat. And I literally thought to myself, I'm really not here to be babysat. I can run rings around you about the security, and I can run
Yeah.
rings around you about fraud prevention. I can run rings around you about crypto. But you can't have a blanket draconian rule, an arbitrary rule, which
Yeah.
isn't even a rule that exists by law, but there's
Right.
nothing in UK law about this. This is just a decision that provider has made arbitrarily to enforce because they don't think I'm mature enough to handle my own money responsibly, even though my entire
Crazy.
banking history shows the complete opposite of that. And that
Yeah.
I find really insulting. Now, at the
Oh,
end of the day, if
incredibly.
I want to buy, sell cryptocurrencies, speculate, trade, buy goods, use them for whatever purposes, legally, of course, if I want to use these things, I don't think I need to have a hand on my shoulder from some
That's right.
invisible guy in a call center in the middle of nowhere using an automated algorithm that I can't see to just make the calls on my behalf. And I would argue that that person is costing me money in terms of opportunity cost or getting in the way of
Right.
me doing my basic business.
100%.
The whole point of DEX is you get rid of this. I
Yes.
don't even want to start getting into, inflationary concepts with fiat now because, it really clocked to me recently the impact of 2% per annum inflation compounding on the
At
spending
least.
value of fiat. And when you really start clocking these things, you really want to get away from that system.
Of
you know
course. Right. Right.
so
Decentralize. Yes.
exactly, why would you want to be engaged in a system when you've got people who recognize the value of these cryptocurrencies, these decentralized currencies, and are willing to just have direct dealings with you like responsible adults in a mature
Yes.
setting? Why the hell would you want to be messing around with some guy who's going to arbitrarily and automatically stop your funds so you cannot engage in your own business? Do you get
See,
what I mean?
and
It offends
I'm
me.
glad you're sharing that. And for those of you out there that who are still watching at this point in time, is I've been thinking about this a lot. I have a lot of Epic Cash, and I'm sure you have a lot of Particle, and you know, uh, I can look at the retrace and I can get all hangdog down or hang my head down or whatever. But then I'm sitting here thinking, man, in crypto, 1 year is multiple lifetimes. I mean, we see just over this last year what has happened, right? And I believe that those of us who are in private crypto now, if we hang in, there's going to be a point in time to where there's going to be a pivot, a shift. There's going to be an awakening that's out there. And those of us who hold private crypto now are going to look back and say, oh my gosh, shame on me for ever considering selling at 25 cents or a buck or $2 or whatever. It's like just hang in there. The use cases are coming and the world's awareness is coming that, it kind of sucks to be backed into this spy system control grid to where you may have the money in your account, on your screen, but if you are not in control of it, what good is it? And that's what you just experienced, Dr. Cap.
Exactly. Are you truly free? And to go get into your point, this is why we built the basic swap DEX to provide
Yeah,
liquidity gateways for privacy coins and for cryptocurrencies.
I
And
love it.
the end game, going into your pivot point, the pivot point is when we integrate this into our marketplace so that you
Yes.
can buy and sell goods using the cryptocurrency of your choice. That is
I
the
I just
simple
love it.
end game. And then
Yeah.
you start going around telling people, and what you go around and tell people, we have an easy to use marketplace that doesn't charge you any commissions, doesn't spy on you, doesn't censor you, doesn't tell you what you can and can't do, treats you like a responsible adult. I was, it treats you like a responsible adult and allows you to, to have your communities where you can trade with without worries about monopoly competition or being crushed down. It just essentially allows small businesses to operate. You know,
Uh,
to
I
me,
will go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
no, I was going to say higher profit margins, more fundamental business security in a liquidity ecosystem that's growing. So once you start getting people into that system and once they start buying and selling goods online using these currencies, because they're getting organic usage, they're creating organic demand, organic liquidity. The daily trading volumes will naturally go up. The demand on these coins will go up. And as long as the issuance mechanics are sound, i.e., I say sound issuance mechanics are low inflation rate, low relative overall supply, but sufficiently liquid to be distributable. As long as the demand for usage of these coins is going up, their intrinsic spot value will go up. And it will go up in a way that is independent of speculation, but it will attract
Amen.
speculators because
Yeah.
as soon as the speculators see, hang on, people are using this to
That
actually do
is
real
the
stuff with,
that's the miracle right there of what
and then that
happens.
creates the most strongest positive feedback loop can you imagine, because the speculators get in, this thing pumps, people go, your retail traders go, whoa, what's going on, why is that thing suddenly shut up?
Yes.
And then they start figuring out, oh, no commissions, oh, privacy, oh, you can actually use this to buy and sell goods.
Yeah,
Oh,
and then
wow.
as the price of
Perhaps
your coin
even
goes up, all of a sudden the products you're purchasing, the price goes down, right? I mean, and so that feedback loop is just
if
very, very powerful to
your
where
early no, it's so powerful. Your early adopters is suddenly their profit margins are no longer the profit they made, but multiples of whatever. Do you get what I mean? The people who
someone,
adopt the system benefit.
you know, the story of the dude who bought a pizza for a Bitcoin. How many pizzas could you buy for a Bitcoin today? I mean, that's what we're talking about here. And if you have patience, I guess that's from a self-discipline standpoint, that's where I'm at, is just chill, Todd. Look in the mirror, chill. Have some patience. It's not if, it's when. Use cases are coming. And what's cool about what you've done, Dr. Cap, is and I love this, is you have used basic swap decks to historically there have been Monero versus the other privacy coins, Epic Cash versus the other privacy coins, etc. What you've effectively done is you've brought everybody to the same side of the table and are sending the message that, hey, if you're in private crypto, we're here for you. Let's talk. I'm sorry about that. Let's talk, and have made it a way for private crypto to be able to have a really, really strong use case. But what you've also brought to the table are the communities of each one of these. And that's where I think that's very powerful. And my commitment to you is I love this project. You know, we beat a dead horse. I really want Epic Cash to be integrated within this, and I believe it will be. But I personally, my channel, I'll be here for you and your team at any point in time, if you have an update and you want to share it, the way I look at it, and I'm sharing with people, I personally, you're not going to see 100 people in the chat and such, but I look at these as for those guests interested in coming on. I think I give a professional interview, and I look at this, it can be an infomercial for you. It can be a destination to where you can point others to be able to learn more about what you're up to. So please just know that I'm just a message away if you want to come back on and you want to have another conversation about anything. I would be excited to be able to have a conversation about how the integration of Epic Cash is going. That would be my nirvana.
Like I said, I would absolutely be more than happy to see Epic Cash being integrated. We want to support all coins. We
Great.
want to work with all coins that have honest intentions, that genuinely want to be part of building the privacy liquidity ecosystem. That's what I'm
Amen.
getting at here.
That's
The
great.
world of freedom where the onus of responsibility falls back onto the individual, not onto the state. I
Mm,
want individuals to take control of themselves. I want individuals to take charge of their own destiny and to take ownership and responsibility for their actions. I don't want people to feel that they need to be dependent on or at the mercy of states that may abuse their power or organizations that may
yeah.
abuse their power, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Okay, so that's my take on all of this, and I welcome all, and that's the reality. I'm more than
Yeah.
happy. All those projects you see, we work with what we have good relationships with.
Absolutely, absolutely. And personally, I've learned a lot from Ruben at Firo just on his approach, on how he is just such a great guy, you know, and he's not A team, B team, red team, blue team. He's like, if you're about private crypto, I'm in it for you. Let's have a conversation. I just love that approach, and you're the same way. Well, this has been very encouraging. Thank you for investing an hour with me and us. And like I said, I can't wait for next steps. And I'm always here for you if you ever want to come back on and with any future updates. So, is there anything else you'd like to share before how do people find you, Dr. Cap, on Instagram or
So I'm
other?
only on Twitter. My handle is well, I'm at the greatest doc. So
Oh, that's
yeah.
great. And
Um Yeah, I
Greatest.
was ego and genius in my 20s, got that handle. Um,
I love it.
but yeah, I think if you want to follow Basic Swap Dex on Twitter or Particle Project, remember Particl Project
Yep.
on Twitter. Those handles I definitely encourage. Our main,
Can you do me a favor after
yeah,
this?
sure.
Can you in Telegram just send me a message that has everything you want me to include
Oh
in the
yeah,
show notes? That would be
sure.
awesome.
Yeah, sure,
Perfect.
sure.
Perfect. And then
Um,
we'll make sure we cover everything.
that's fine. And like I said, just create the Telegram group and I'll send you the relevant bits. And
Okay.
then we can kind of get the channels started for all of this.
Perfect.
Okay. As
Perfect. I'm going to
if you
do that
guys
this
have
afternoon.
honest intentions and an honest way forward, then we're going to support you.
Great. And we do. We went through our, you know, little turmoil this last year, but all of those issues are in the rearview mirror, and it's, nothing but net here. But what I love about you is that you are giving a middle finger to centralization, and we should all be about the control alt delete, control alt centralization, right? We need to get centralization to the extent we can out of our lives and take control of our own futures. That means privacy, that means self-custody, and that means planning ahead. So you and your team since 2000, what was it, 17, have been
Yeah,
working on this project, and it's amazing where it is right now. So thank you for your service in that. I know that was not easy, and I know that it's all been self-funded. There is no company, there is no uh, infusion of $10 million to go hire a tech team. It's just been organic. So that's really cool story. All right, Dr. Cap, thank you so much. Always a pleasure to talk with you, and this was very informative. Thank you.
no worries. Thank you, Todd.
All right. Cheers, everyone in the chat. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend. Till next time, smash that like button and please hit the notification bell.